And that leaves us time for the concluding panel of this morning. And the title of this panel is Mapping Nordic Resilience. It's going to be a Nordic crisis tour. So we will be looking at this from different angles. I now invite the panel to come up to the stage and join me here in the next hour, because we're bringing together experts from across. Lisa, you should sit there. Anne, Ville, Maria over here, and then I will take this chair. I'll just tell you that what will happen here is we're bringing together experts from across the Nordic region to explore how countries prepare for and respond to and recover from crises. Our discussion will highlight some of the real crisis scenarios and responses and examine the broader impact. And just to introduce you, I think Ville is... Oh, we have a little microphone situation. He's coming. So we have Iijalainen from the city of Hämeenlinna. Do I say it right?
Yes, Hämeenlinna.
I'm rehearsing, I'm practicing my Finnish. I'm not quite there yet. But you're from the Municipal Crisis Management. You're 65 kilometers west of where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Next to you is the Secretary General of the Nordkalottrådet Council, Lisa Lundgren. You're also from the Emergency Preparedness Coordinating issue in Sweden, I believe. No, I didn't. I got that wrong. Sorry.
Nope.
Skip that.
No emergency preparedness.
No.
Nope.
Delete the last sentence. Sorry about that. But the Nordkalottrådet joins the Finnish, the Norwegian, and the Swedish very northern parts. Yes. Okay. Next, we now have, with a fixed microphone, Ville Anttila, who is the leading preparedness specialist with NESA, not to be confused with NASA, which is the National Emergency Supply Agency. Did I say it right?
That is true.
I got it right. And then finally here, Maria Jontén, who is from the Authority for Societal Protection and Resilience, Preparedness. What's the word in English? I don't know.
That is the Civil Contingencies Agency.
Yeah, excellent. What will happen now is that they will each give a 5-minute presentation on the topic from their perspective, and then after that I will talk with them here. Your questions are more than welcome. Keep them coming via Menti. You just scan the QR code and send your questions off to the panel. But the first one we will be hearing from is you, Anne.
Yes. I have the honor to begin this panelists presentation round, and we are talking about Hämeenlinna and how we prepare for different kind of situations in Hämeenlinna. As Trine said, we are situated about 70 kilometers west of Lahti, between two major cities in Finland, between Tampere and Helsinki, about 100 kilometers straight north of Helsinki. And we have about 70,000 inhabitants. So I'm going to take you on a local tour then to my hometown, Hämeenlinna, which is actually Tavastehus in Swedish. Maybe that's a little bit easier to say. And everything, of course, when we are talking about preparedness, begins with planning. And it's not only the planning process, it's also the discussions we go through when we are making up the plan and updating the plan. That's a really important part of it. Our aim is to maintain the city services as long as possible on a normal level. That's our big aim. And as you can see from the slides, we have a plan that is divided into two different parts. A general part, which is also public, and then we have quite many classified attachments. And in the general part, we have a description of our crisis management, and of course our mayor is a key person in leading the crisis also. And we have made the decision to go to the crisis with the same executive team as in normal situations. Of course, depending on the crisis, we have the possibility to take in different professionals. For example, during the pandemic, we had a medical expert in our team. We have 3 executive teams: the city executive team, the education and welfare has an own team, and then the team for urban development and infrastructure has an own team. The public plan has also a severity classification, which means that the situations are categorized based on how serious they are. And also we define who leads these situations. If it's a single unit case, for example, in one school, then it's the principal of the school who is in charge. If it's a multi-school thing, then it's the director of our basic education, and if it's a citywide impact, then it's the mayor. But of course, planning is not enough. A really big part is to test our plans, to practice, get experience, update the plan, and have the experience also how to cope with different kind of situations. Of course, there are never two identical situations, but from these drills we get the experience and also test our plans so that we can adapt to different kind of cases when they occur. And when people know what to do and they are not afraid of the crisis, it also improves the resilience. Annually we practice either on a local or a regional level. This year we had a drill on a regional level and the scenario was mass evacuation. There was really some serious problems on the southeast border of Finland, and it required evacuation of all the residents from that area. And in a situation like this, Hämeenlinna should prepare to host 17,000 evacuees, and that's a lot. We did a plan on which services needed, premises, leadership structure, team responsibilities, and everything that has to go with the evacuation, from traffic jams to mental services and so on. We also take part in the cybersecurity drill. Annually, it's a national drill with teams like credential phishing, fake news, AI-generated messages, requests, and so on. And then an important part, we have quite a lot of employees and of course children in schools and daycare centers. Annually they have a drill where they evacuate from the building outside, and then also in shelter drills, how they could protect themselves in the building. And by this means, it's like an experience for the children, and it's something they are waiting for. So they get the knowledge to handle different situations in maybe a little bit of a play mode. As we heard in the other presentations, no one gets through a crisis alone. Only together we are stronger. And from my point of view, the most important is to build up the cooperation and the relations in normal conditions. Have regular meetings, get up to date with each other, keep up the contact by email and phone and so on with different actors. As you see from the list, there are quite many of those, but this informal cooperation is the thing that also helps us in crisis situations to act quite fast. Also, actually, when August was talking about that, we are maybe not acting too as fast as we should. And with these words, I would like to thank you. I don't know how many minutes it was, but it was just a little scratch of it, but hope.
Excellent. And we'll be going more in depth later on in the conversation. But thank you so much for setting the stage. Next up is you, Lisa Lundgren, Secretary General of the Nordkalottrådet Council.
Yes, hi everyone. I realized maybe I should have had as my first slide not the one behind me, but one that actually shows what the Nordkalottrådet territory is, because maybe not all of you are aware of that. So maybe I will start by that, by explaining that the Nordkalottrådet is in our three northernmost countries, northern Norway, northern Sweden, northern Finland. It's anything above the polar circle. And geographically, it could also entail parts of Russia, but as you understand, this is not really how we work. But the Nordkalottrådet Council consists of Nordland, Troms and Finnmark, fylkeskommuner, region Norrbotten, and then Finnish Lapland as of now. And I will talk about this topic a little bit more from maybe a regional policy perspective, because we are a cross-border committee under the Nordic Council of Ministers, working, of course, under the Program for Regional Development and Planning. And for us, I would say a lot of the work is within advocacy, advocating for our territory. And that's, I think, why I also wanted to show you this picture behind me, because this is our reality. This is where we are kind of living in the midst of. It's the geopolitical situation that we're in, also the geographical situation. But as you heard also from the speaker before us, before this panel, there is a lot going on in this part of the world. We have investments underway in green transition that's about over 100 billion euros as of now. This is also on a land mass that is about 11% of the total EU land mass. But also we know that we have quite a demographic challenge in the midst of this. We have a ton of fly in, fly out. One of our regions, Troms, has a unemployment rate of only, I think, 1.2% as of now, which is, it's not sustainable. So our role when it comes to crisis preparedness is also advocating for that there is no crisis preparedness without resilience and robustness in our societies, which we're not really sure that we have as of now. So what we are doing as of now is advocating for regional sustainable regional development, that we also get investments through our national governments, but not only that, also through the EU Commission, of course. And if we're talking about now that we're all three NATO countries, and we're expected to put 5% of our GDP into the defense, does that also entail some kind of dual use? Because if it's not, then the whole part of civil defense is not even something to be discussed. So these are the things that we are working on a day-to-day basis together within the Council, is kind of how to influence both national policy, but also European policy, but also how do we work together as NATO countries? Can we actually combine perspectives in this new reality that we are in? But also not only from this new reality from a geopolitical perspective, but also with this huge landmass with tons of critical raw materials, hundreds of billions of investments in euros ongoing, with very, I would say, poor east-westernly infrastructure. We are not there yet when we're talking about robustness. So we can do things practically together, but if we do not have kind of this robustness from a policy level between the three countries, and also for an example, Norway has in its North program specifically said that northern Norway is the area of the most strategic importance to Norway. But if that is not shown in terms of investments and in terms of national policy, it doesn't really matter. So that's just a brief few minutes on what we are kind of working on. As I said, we do invest, of course, in practical topics, a lot of practical projects, people to people, of course, to build robustness and resilience. But we are, without influencing policy and continuously advocating, this area that is of such strategic importance, also being kind of the threshold, the Arctic threshold to the rest of Europe, is very, very vulnerable as of now. I think I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. And obviously, we'll be talking more about that when we get into the panel discussion. But Ville, the floor is yours now. Ville, as I to remind you, is a leading preparedness specialist with NESA. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I will try to squeeze some general ideas on security of supply system in Finland. What is the concept, and especially in the point of view of public-private partnership. Let's start with the terms. It's always these vary from country to country, from language to language. But in Finland, we see the security of supply as referring to ensuring production and availability of essential economic activities, goods, materials, and services that are all necessary for livelihood of population, national economy, and national defense. And the scope, context is on the left side, is exceptional conditions and comparable serious disruptions. So nothing to do with the normal life, everyday hazards, but the context is in the severe hazards. As in the opening remarks today, you heard about the Finnish comprehensive security model. The main idea is that the security is maintained in cooperation between authorities, business community, organizations, and citizens, and that's the key point in security of supply as well. We need cooperation between these different fields of society and in all levels of activities. Security of supply is built on 3 layers. They complement each other, and every layer is needed. This 3-level model leverages the existing societal structures through networked approach. We see that this model is comprehensive, it's adaptive, and it's resource efficient. The public-private partnership is mainly in action in the top of the pyramid. So we talk about voluntary-based preparedness cooperation in a wide network. That is trusted information exchanges, exercises, training, best practices, sharing, etc. But also this contract-based preparedness and the regulation-based preparedness are as well needed. This is a big picture. There's a lot of info, but the main idea is that this is our, let's say, a squeezing of our strategy for the few upcoming years, and this is like a common risk horizon that gives direction to all the operational activities for security of supply. So the NESA strategy defines the direction also for the network. So this risk horizon is shared between us and between the network that incorporates the business sector. So what is the network? What it comprises of? This picture illustrates our public-private partnership network. It provides a 360-degree view of society's vital functions, and this network comprises about 1,500 different actors that involve that participate in this work annually. The main point may be that the private actors own and operate most critical services and production in society, and also critical infra that is enabling these functions. So public-private cooperation is both necessary and cornerstone of Finnish security of supply system. So this structure, I'm not going to further details, but these business sectors on the white text over here, these are organized as a pools, as we call them. This is the mechanism that identifies the critical companies for security of supply and incorporates them into cooperation. This organization model is contract-based. NESA funds this and facilitates it. It's contract-based with mainly trade associations. So all of these subgroups over here have a permanent secretary that runs the group, and they plan their activities annually from the basis of our general guidelines. But one key point is that the participation in this work is voluntary and it's free of charge for actors involved. We see it quite cost-efficient way to operate and to involve. Its annual cost is around 8 million euros. Is it much? Is it not? If you compare it to let's say material preparedness that we are also responsible of, I'd say it's like a minimal amount of money, but we see that we gain very much from that. If we zoom on the regional level, how is the public-private partnership operating on the regional level? We have 5 regional committees that are cross-sectoral. So they incorporate companies that are identified as critical for the region from all sectors, and also some other authorities representatives described on the left side. On the right side are the outcomes and the benefits for the actors who are involved. We've studied a lot about the motivating factors. Why does a company want to be incorporated? Why they want to be involved? The key factors are comparing and learning, awareness and common shared situational picture, their own continuance work developing, relationships and networks, and there might be maybe it's a Finnish thing, but there's a big sense of responsibility, and that's one thing that we want to and we need to maintain. Here are some lessons learned. That we identified some preconditions for public-private partnership in our context. I'd say that's not on the text, but the crucial thing is to understand the perspective and the needs of the companies, and to say that support and dialogue, we find them better than supervision. So to include companies' network in a common planning process, do activities that companies themselves see as necessary, in contrary to directing tasks. So that's one our key takeaway to the table. But hey, thank you.
Thank you. And our final short presentation here comes from Maria Jontén, and I think we will be we've been to the municipal area, we've been to a region, we've talked about business and public cooperation. We're moving up a step in the overview, I would say, and the military threat. So go ahead, Maria.
Thank you very much. I will just move to the next slide. Thank you very much to Nordregio for having me here, and thank you to you for keeping a little bit more patience until we start the dialogue in this event. I will start off by giving you an introduction of the agency that I'm representing, the shift we are in Sweden, and give you some concrete examples on what we do and try to do to connect with all the levels from national, regional, local, but of course connected to the international and multilateral sort of organizations. I just want you to understand where I come from, where we are in Sweden, as that might not be new to you, but Sweden toned down its total defense capability in the early 2000s, decided on that we will live in peace and we will have a preparedness for crisis due to the 360 degrees approach, but mostly focused on hazards like terrorist attacks, when it comes to sort of interaction from other states and climate change and these type of things. But 2015, we reinforced by a parliamentary decision the total defense concept again. And the total defense concept in Sweden is based on the civil defense and the military defense, the preparedness as a very bottom, and that creates in a whole the total defense. So over to where we are now and where we're going to go. What is the shift and what are we heading towards? As we all know, these are our challenging times, and the security situation continues to deteriorate. Together with our allies, we need to become strong enough to deter from attacks, and there is intensive work ongoing to build up our total defense in different ways in the Nordic countries. With this background, in the light of the urgent need for capability development within the civil defense, the government has pointed out the agency where I work, MSB, to be the leading agency for the civil defense in Sweden. This means we have two roles. We are the leading agency responsible for directing and coordinating the civil defense work of the many stakeholders involved, making sure we do this with a whole of society approach. Secondly, we have the sectorial responsibility for rescue services and the protection of the population. Our role and responsibility is reflected in our new name. As of January 1st, 2026, we will be the Swedish Civil Defense and Resilience Agency. And you have heard earlier the different definitions of resilience and civil preparedness, so I will not dig in deeper into that. I was told to give you an overview more from a national perspective, and I have 5 minutes, so I will try to sweep over very quickly. But just to dig into what am I talking about, I think it's very important to stress, even though I'm representing the national level, of course we take account from the very local level, where I've been, over the years, done quite a lot of work within the local, perspective. I have had the regional perspective, and of course the national perspective and international perspective. Within this structure, as you see it, I don't know if I like, the way we structure it, but this is how I told to present it. But we are a complexity, a diversity of different interests, of different groups, of different experiences, and we build the total defense jointly. No one does it alone. In Sweden, we also have a structure as governments need to have. In Finland, you have your diamonds. Norway has its systems. Denmark has its, and so on and so forth. We constructed these in 12 different sectors that sort of construct a basis, but a basis for further development. So we just recently we started off with 10, but now we have 12 different sectors, and you can read more about them at our webpage. We have 6 regions in Sweden that are also responsible when we have high alert from peacetime to wartime. And we have, as Magnus mentioned, 290 municipalities roughly, and also 4 military regions that are connected, and us build the total defense in a more structural way. Okay, I move on to next slide, so I have time to share what I really want to share here. But just to give you some ideas on how do we do it, how do we prepare the population, how do we involve all these different stakeholders. Quite recently, the Supreme Commander for the Armed Forces, together with the Director General of MSB, launched a brochure. It's open, it's on the webpage, and it creates 7-dimensional cases on what could be the threat, what do we plan for, what can we expect, and that is also visible to all stakeholders to take into account when they do their own planning, to build exercises, training, and education on. And as you can see, we have a map, and that also shows the interconnections we have, some of the interconnections we have in this regard in the Nordic region. Okay, this is a concrete example. Maybe some of you have seen it in cases of crisis or war. This is not a new product. The first time we launched it was 1943, and then it has been, updated, and then it was all toned down in the early 2000s. 2018, it was launched to the public again, and it was the first time the Swedish government used the terminology war communicating with the population. In this brochure is what is expected from you as an individual when it comes to psychological defense, what you can prepare in your home, how you can contribute in your municipality, what is your role as an individual, and it also signaling that your role is important, it matters, and we need to stay strong together. And a new one will quite soon come also addressing the private sector, so that will be launched next year. Another area which I would like to address is also connected to what we heard from an earlier speaker, a colleague of mine, and this is the MOU High North. And this is a construction on a regional level from 2005, and it came into force 2016. They cooperate on a regular level on, from regional perspective, but also from the highest political perspective. So you have weekly situational awareness pictures, you share information, you have shared communication, strategic communication, and you work both in crisis and for the civil defense preparedness. And this is a great showcase of how a regional-driven project can look like, and they also have a web page where you can read more about it. I think I stopped there, but just as I think some of you, especially you, were talking about exercises, I've been leading quite a few exercises, and I must underline that exercises is the perfect tool. The perfect tool to get a common understanding, a common experience, and also a good way both for research, for development, but also a platform for exchange different perspectives. And that is a great tool that should be used even more when we work jointly between countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria. So come join me. I have a few questions. You are free to let me know if you want to reply to them. Also, your questions are more than welcome. I can see a few have come in already. But I want to begin really where you ended, Maria, because you talked about some of the cross-border cooperation that was going on. Sends me off to you, Lisa, because that's really what you have also, what you are working on. So how in your experience, has that enhanced sort of the preparedness, the awareness of crisis that you are collaborating? And do you think there's need for more collaboration cross-border?
I would say definitely also between different levels. Because the thing is, the there is, I know that the county administrative board, which is not a regional development actor, which the regions are, it's still a state actor, but it's in the region, and you have the kind of same equivalent ones on the Finnish side in form of ely-keskus and statsforvaltaren in Norway. I know that there has been more of a kind of a multi-level, I know preparedness actions within each country. But the thing is, if you're looking at it cross-border wise, if it's only between national levels, and if you're not taking regional development as kind of a basic condition into perspective, you can practice a lot. But if you're missing certain conditions, in form of, for an example, infrastructure, if we're looking at the railway now that is finally actually connecting Finland also, yay, Malmbanan that runs through Sweden and up to Norway, Narvik, connecting the harbors. But the thing is, it's underdimensioned already. And that's without any kind of military perspective, any other stress than except for public transportation and private in terms of iron ore. But the thing is, so it's already underdimensioned. We know how much it costs as soon as a train stops there just for a few days. You don't have double tracks. So you can practice a heck of a lot. But if you don't have pre-existing conditions on which to practice on, and if you don't have the notion of dual use, which is both the military perspective, the civil defense perspective, the robustness perspective, it doesn't really matter.
Obviously, and quite understandably, but what do you see as the main barrier for this understanding to come through? Because as soon as it's cross-border, I guess it's also a question about who does what.
And that's the thing too. I mean, I would say we are lacking a joint kind of Northern Nordic strategy in terms of this. There is initiatives, for an example, on the infrastructure side called the Platform North, where the countries are working together. But again, who has the coordinating part and who is leading? And there's maybe we don't have this sense of urgency yet to actually do things for real, because we don't have joint investments in these. We're not getting our policies together, really. I know that Northern Finland has in its program for, the Finnish government in its program from Northern Finland has said that they will take a responsibility for coordinating closer collaboration between the countries. As of now, I haven't seen anything yet.
And I want to bring that to you, Maria. Obviously, you're from a national perspective. Do you recognize this sort of lack of maybe understanding the need for coordination, cooperation, co-financing, co-investing?
Maybe the understanding is there, but it's a long way from understanding to take an action. And I think that is what we have experienced and what you are addressing too. I think there are many of us that see the gaps, the sort of development and action we need to take, and also including the Baltic states as well, of course. And looking at that picture that you also had, Lisa, on the Arctic, us as Arctic nations, instead of coming together, being a strong voice, also defining what is the Nordic countries and defining our own narrative, we're sort of risking not being coordinated, that somebody else is actually taking that role. So I think this is in many different areas, and I think this is very, very important.
So there are challenges on the national and I was going to say supranational level. I want to bring it over to you, Anne, because you work on the municipal level and you have to sort of do the same thing, but in a more in a smaller area, so to speak. So from your perspective, when you look at the challenges you're facing in coordinating everything in your city, what are the main barriers you are facing?
It's actually the same. We are cooperating locally with our neighboring municipalities, but there is always a question on who is leading, who is paying, who is doing what. So we have the same problem also on a local level, even if we try our best to cooperate because we know the crisis doesn't know borders. So.
Yeah, it doesn't know city borders, it doesn't know country borders. So how do you deal with it? What do you sit down and have a fight, or how do you do it?
No, actually, I think these informal meetings we have, they are a step in the right direction. To get to know people, to keep them updated and so on. Beginning small and maybe escalating higher.
But you also showed us how many different parts are in your planning. So it's a lot of meetings.
Yes,
it's a lot of talking.
Yeah.
You don't get tired?
I'm not alone.
Oh, you don't do it all?
I don't attend all those meetings. We are 2 persons, so we are dividing them.
So really on the municipal level, in the region of the Nordkalottrådet, on the national level, it's a question of coordinating and talking. I want to bring it over to you, Ville, because you're both regional, but you're also between the public and the private sector. Do you face the same barriers?
I'd say that on the regional level, I hear you.
We hear you.
If you think about the projects and activities that we fund and we implement, or the network implements, I think that we have a shared goal. We have the shared vision, and we can direct the activities to the same direction, and we're quite happy with it. But these kind of activities and projects that their implementation needs other stakeholders, mainly public authorities. I think that getting sufficient funds, decisions, there's a problem. This keynote presentation about creeping threats. What was the name? We have referred to as a grey rhinos. So hidden in a plain sight. It seems that, honestly, I think that in society we do know that next pandemic is coming. There is a threat of military. There's a military threat, and we need to do something. But can we really implement those major projects, for example, related to infrastructure? That becomes tricky.
Yeah, and that's what we're here also to highlight and maybe to shout to the people actually making the decisions. But there's another question that's come from the room, and it says that the two of you here, you both mentioned the shared responsibility or sense of responsibility of the individual also, not only on the authority side or national side. So what do you see as the biggest concerns at the moment with this, and how is individual responsibility ensured? How do we do that to make the person take responsibility? Yeah, Maria? Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a classic thing that we all address, but of course everything starts with education. Everything starts with our children. We had the example from you with the training and evacuation and shelter from an early stage. I think that is highly important. We have now in the reinforcement also started the subject of total defense in the Swedish schools, so we're bringing it back. Education is definitely number one. Number two is what we've also heard today, that many municipalities are suffering from climate change in Sweden, and forest fires, floodings, so on and so forth. We also see other Nordic countries having troubles and challenges from the Norwegian side, for example, and that we are helping each other out. That also create a sense of urgency. It's more difficult with the defense one, I would say, to communicate that you have somebody, an agitator, on the other side of the Finnish and Baltic border. And for the Swedes to make the shift as an allied, that we will die either in Finland or in the Baltic states. Yeah. That's a big shift.
Yeah, it's a big shift. You also had a remark here, Anna?
Yes, it's about communication. telling people, informing people, educated them, and not only communicating one time a year or something like that, doing it all the time in different channels on different levels.
Yeah, Lisa.
I would also say, I mean, except for education and yes, communication, there's also, and this is more of a, this is trickier, because the thing is, people need to want to do that, to defend or support one another. And how do you do that? Well, you need to feel pride in your community. You also need to feel a sense of belonging to other communities. And this is trickier
Not
across
only your own little,
not only
yeah.
your own, and also across the border. So you need to build cohesion and unity, not only within a nation, but across nations. And that takes time, because it's about trust, and we know how much we lost during the pandemic, and I hope that we have learned a lot from that, because we are still, I think, in a rebuilding phase almost from that. And this is also so reinstating kind of a I don't know, a Nordic identity also then because if we're not only looking at kind of region-wise, nation-wise, but also across nations. And as you're saying, if we are we going to be ready to die for one another?
And that kind of touches on another question from the audience, is how you see the role of exactly local communities, of NGOs, of the third and fourth sector in the regional preparedness model. What kind of structures are there to include civil society? Yeah, Maria?
Yeah, well, I can speak for Sweden. I know that you have it in Norway in civilförsvaret, for example, but in Sweden they are included, and the challenge has been the financing. Now we have more money that we can spend on this, so definitely there is a complete different situation for NGOs to be included in the civil defense. And in Sweden they are called frivilliga försvarsorganisationer, FFOer, and they are taking a very, very important role in the robustness and the resilience of our total defense. So they are a clear part.
Any additional remarks? Yeah, Ville?
Well, yeah, I see that NGOs or this kind of third sector is included in the preparedness structures in various levels. We have this kind of a high-level security committee. There's a NGO membership. Also on the regional preparedness forums, it's present. But maybe because the field is very various, it's heterogeneous. So who represents what? That's a key thing.
Yeah, who represents what? And I guess also there was a question here I was looking for. Yes, it says here that you all mentioned the need to allocate more resources to invest in preparedness and resilience. But how can we make sure that it's also benefits our societies in times of peace? I mean, that all the money that we need to put in to this, how can it improve our societies more in general, Lisa?
Well,
I guess that's your point, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I think you have to understand that investing in kind of preparedness, robustness, civil defense really does mean investing in society. So I would say if you understand that and have that notion, this should not be that tricky. And of course, I'm speaking also from a cross-border perspective. It means investing, of course, in whether it be in cultural expressions cross-border-wise, or whether it be in sports activities or entrepreneurship. But it's really, if we can agree on that investing in robustness and resilience means investing in sustainable communities and sustainable regions and sustainable countries, also cross-border wise. If we can agree on that kind of as a philosophical fundamental, then it makes it a lot easier. But we also have to agree, and that it also combines kind of a not just dual use, but multi-use and multi-perspective dimension.
And I guess that brings us to another perspective, which is how do we make sure that there are enough and the right people in each community to actually carry out all the jobs that are there to be taken out. So it becomes very much a question of recruitment, having the right people in the right regions. Are you struggling with that, Anne?
Yes,
yeah?
we are. We are.
Yeah.
There is so much work. I think a team of maybe 5 persons. I don't know if that's even enough. So we are now two holding these things, and
that is at the administration level. But then you move into all the other departments of who actually has to carry out the rescues and stuff like that.
That's right.
So how do you deal with that?
You have to prioritize. You have to choose what you do.
Yeah.
And the most important things, and we have chosen to keep up our plan. Of course, it's not as the mayor from Lahti told us. It's not a checklist. It's something that lives with us in the normal life. To keep up the plan, to do the exercises, to cooperate. Those things I had in my presentations are actually the things we have prioritized.
And it takes people.
Yeah, of course.
It takes people.
Yeah.
How do you see the question, Lisa, of recruiting and then retaining the talent in the area up north? You need the people to do it.
Yeah, I live in northern Sweden, and before I went on stage, I actually got an email from a project that is working with. We realized that we're not going to get national support in getting people to move up north from southern parts of Sweden. I'm using now a national example, even though I work cross-border, because we rather give people about 500,000 crowns to leave Sweden, and we can give them a contribution of maybe 20,000 crowns to move to northern Sweden, which says, there is a bit of it's a bit tricky. So what is being done in northern Sweden, especially in the smaller municipalities, we're working with getting people from other countries to move up. And I just got an email that I've been looking at, should I sell my summer house? It's on an island, but it's in a municipality. There's a bridge there. It's very nice. It's beautiful. But I've been thinking about maybe I should leave this house and buy something else instead. So I got an email that after they had been, and this is also a project specifically looking for people from the outside. So I know I'm using this as my own example, but yes, so this is something that needs to be done. And it's a very pragmatic way of doing things. You need to have people who actually physically go and talk to other people. It's very practical. But that is, if we don't have national mechanisms, or cross-border mechanisms for mobility across countries and helping sort of populate each other's regions and municipalities, well, then we're coming down to the really, really practical level that someone needs to have that job, not through the unemployment agency, but from a funded project, who actually goes to the Netherlands and says, oh, by the way, you want to come here? Look at this house. It's beautiful. I have 2 families now.
It's very cold and very dark.
I have 2 families now who want to move up.
Yeah.
It's not cold and dark. And that's also a misunderstanding. What are we selling? Because the funny thing is, right now, yes, we have very little daylight in northern Sweden. But as soon as the snow comes, the gorgeous light there is, it's not, people say, oh, it's dark half a year. I'm like, what? I live there. It's not.
But I'm stating it to say the reputation, maybe the eagerness for the difficulty of the recruitment process was to state that. Ville, do you on the regional level see a problem in lack of workforce, lack of people?
I'd say that we gather a situational picture on security of supply around once a month. And there are some business sectors that report, some more than others. But of course there are some areas. But it's also a business sector case. So is there sufficient knowledge and know-how how to get it? But yeah, it comes across quite a lot.
Yeah. There's another question from the audience that has gotten quite a bit of votes. You've discovered how to upvote each other's question. I really appreciate that. And that's to do with the Baltic states. And I don't know if who of you maybe has some experience in that field, but where do they come in terms of Nordic resilience? And is there some coordination or plans to develop a broader regional framework? Maybe you, Maria.
Well, I can start out from all the three countries of us being NATO members. That came into a completely different picture when it comes in preparedness plans, as we have the NATO regional plans. So we do have plannings jointly with the Baltic states. We exercise together. The exchange is increasing, but there's still a lot to do. And I would like to stress too that we say we are not in peace, neither in war. Bear that in mind. We are not in peace, neither in war. And this is where we are. We can wish for a lot of things. We have a long list, but we have what we have. This is us. And it's us that's gonna do the planning, the preparedness, but also be the ones. So I think that mental shift is so important. It's so important also to listen to each other. When the Baltic states, a colleague of mine from Latvia, and he said, you know, Maria, what does it take to make you Swedes wake up? And I said, I have no clue. But you're talking about preparedness, about resilience. But we're talking about war. We're talking about occupation.
Survival. Yeah.
So we are very close by. We are neighbors with different history, different experiences, but we are, part of the northern flank. We are part of the Nordic countries. So I think a second round also. Of course, we should aim for getting a lot of things, but we are here and now, and the world around us is not getting better. It's very unpredictable. And in this case, what can we do from where we are now? We have what we have, and we are together.
Yeah, and I guess this brings me to the final question, which is a topic that August also touched on, which is the Nordic social trust that we always talk so much about. We trust that we will be in peace, so we abolish the total defense system, to give an example. But we also trust each others. But are we becoming, in your opinion, are we trusting things too much? Are we trusting our authorities too much? Have we become lazy, and don't we take enough responsibility? Yeah, Ville.
I bring this back to the individual level, and we've done some studies on the individual level preparedness and at homes. I think the main hindrance in getting the numbers higher is basically the very good trust that things do work.
Yeah.
We have a very
society will take care of us.
We have very well functioning infra. We don't have electric breaks in the cities. The water comes from the tap. The phones work. Why should I worry?
Exactly.
So it's kind of a risk awareness and communication on that is that's somehow to be done. Maybe the best boost would be a big crash.
A little shock,
yes.
maybe. And is this a challenge for you in your planning, that people assume that you have everything fixed for them?
Yeah, they do. And actually, when we were talking about water supply in Finland, you should prepare, or every household should prepare to have 72 hours supply at home, water, food, and so on. But actually, people think that I get the water from the municipality. It's not a problem. I don't have any space for water bottles or something like that. So they are trusting us too much.
You're doing your job too well. You also had a remark here.
Yeah, and I would have to say then, of course, it depends on where you're from. You have to understand that the northern parts of the 3 Nordic countries that I represent, I would say the question is if there's too much trust or, kind of like, absolutely not, because this is one of the most sparsely populated areas that we have. Very small communities, very small municipalities, extreme long distances. Only my region, Norrbotten, where I live, is the size of Austria, with inhabitants of, 250,000 right now? So no, I would say it depends on which part of the country we're from. If you are from a bigger city or from a capital area, of course, everything is right there. But where we live, we don't even have kind of the... If we're looking at...
You're not too sure about the water from the municipality.
I am sure about the water quality also from private wells. It's fantastic, the water. But when it comes to we're looking at, as I said, basic infrastructure, for an example, and especially from a dual use perspective. The roads that we have cannot sustain like military vehicles, for an example. If you're looking at how many of the roads are actually decent enough for that, as I said, railroads and so forth. So we have to understand that our Nordic countries will differ a lot also internally.
Did you want to? Yeah.
Yes, actually, Lisa said it already. It's an urban problem. On the rural area, it's not a problem. They can cope.
Okay, so there are things to be learned from each other here, Maria.
Oh, definitely, always.
Yeah. Thank you so much, all four of you, for speaking to us. Give them a round of applause. And this means that I stand in the very uncomfortable spot, which is between you and lunch. And that begins just after I finished giving you these practicalities for the rest of the day. Because I just need to inform you that your study visits that begin at 2 o'clock in about 50 minutes, they are by bus. The buses will be located outside the main entrance by the registration area. And in the meantime, you can find out which study trip you've signed up for in the posters outside in the hallway. The 3 study trips are, just to remind you, one to Lahti City Hall on the city culture of Lahti. You will meet here at 2 o'clock for the first part of the visit in the concert hall. The Hoppula Day Center Care in Lahti is about enabling nature contact and climate resilience. You meet by the entrance where you picked up your name tag at 2 o'clock for the bus, the shuttle bus. And the final study trip, the Lahti's architectural policy program, Designing for Sustainability and Resilience. You meet by the cloakroom at 2 o'clock for the shuttle bus. Also a reminder for those of you joining the guided museum tour and the conference dinner, it starts at 5 and the conference dinner at 6, yes, with a welcome drink, 6:30 for the meal. You can check at the back of your name tag to see if you've registered for the guided tour and or for the dinner. The venue is located in the same building as the Visual Arts Museum. That was all from me for today. I will see you again tomorrow morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.